What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another podcast. My name is Mike Perrine. This is the Everyday Detox podcast. I'm out in Ashland, Oregon right now. And this podcast was filmed and recorded in New York City at Vitality, New York City in June, and it's now November. So I'm having some time management issues, or at least I was, because now Adriana has taken over as operations manager of Vitality New York City, which allows me much more time here in Ashland, where I now live, to get all of these podcasts. And we started a video series on YouTube, so I'm getting all this stuff done now that I have the time to do it, although I still am owner and chief operator of Vitality. So I'm still there. And this podcast was filmed over at Vitality back in June. It was with my boy Dennis Cahlo, who you guys have seen if you saw, I don't remember how many podcasts ago, about 5 podcasts ago. Dennis came on to talk about vegan dating. And here's the cool thing about Dennis and I. We go back like all the way back to when we were teenagers. Bunch of weird kids in Staten Island. And Dennis came around to film some promotional videos for Vitality when I opened it. And Dennis wasn't into eating healthy. Dennis was a rock star, and I mean like legit rock star. He was in a band it was a big name band, and he's very creative. And he had a period where he was into cigarettes, late night diner food, alcohol, and cocaine. So that's not how he is as an adult, and that wasn't how he's been the last few years or whatever. But he was drinking a lot and smoking a lot, and he's gone sober and quit smoking. And he went vegan when he came to Vitality to film this thing, and he was like filming these promo videos for us. And he was watching me give one of my talks, and he was listening as it was going on, and he was like, oh shit, like I want to change my whole game up. And he started to eat vegan, and it totally, like, he just took off with it. So like the last couple of years, like we're always talking shop. We talk about food, we talk about poop, we talk about our self-care game. Dennis was a big part of Vitality Fit Club when we were doing that on Friday nights, where we would throw around maces and kettlebells and battle ropes, and then we'd get into the cryo chamber. If you guys ever watched my Snapchats, we would just do tons of boomerangs and we just like do the whole night, like crazy music. Like it was a lot of fun. We did some cool shit. But anyway, Dennis comes on. We catch up. We talk about our self-care game. We go through this whole stream of consciousness conversation that's kind of fun. We go into 80s New York at one point. We talk about when I got stabbed when I was 14 by this dude with a kitchen knife. We talk about making eye contact and the significance of that in New York City. We talk about Greenwood Cemetery. And so it's just like a really cool thing. Of course, we do hit on all the cool topics of self-care and cryotherapy and diet specifics and like all the stuff that we talk about in this podcast. We always get to that. We start this podcast by sampling some sacred chocolate, which is like one of the best raw chocolates I've ever had. And we started selling it at the studio at Vitality. So we're going to roll into this podcast eating chocolate, and then we're going to move through and talk about Costco and shopping and all sorts of things. So anyway, I hope you guys like this. Please come give us a visit at vitalitynewyorkcity.com when you're in New York City, and come have a session. Infrared saunas, cryotherapy, colon hydrotherapy. We've got a cute little shop in there where we sell all of these amazing products. Every product in our shop is there because somebody at the office, usually me, 90% of them, is into it and uses it in their own life and finds it valuable. So there's no fillers on our shelf. Everything there we use. Also, on Instagram, I do a daily, almost daily Q&A on the Everyday Detox Instagram page and on the Vitality New York City Instagram page, where I give people the opportunity to ask questions, and then I answer them, and I answer them in Instastory. And my emoji game is mad strong when it comes to answering questions about poop and cleansing. So if you haven't seen that, you can definitely check us out on Instagram. Also, in a more evolved way, I'm answering these questions on YouTube. So we have a new Q&A show on YouTube that you can check out there. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, it's on this same channel here. There's 2 episodes up right now. There's about 3 or 4 more that are going to drop this month. So anyway, I hope you guys like all that stuff. I appreciate everyone so much for watching and listening. It means the world to me. I put a lot of work into this content. I really hope it's helpful and valuable. And I get a lot of great feedback through DMs on Instagram, through comments on YouTube. It's really special, and I appreciate everyone who listens and watches. So let's jump into this podcast. You know, the best part about this podcast is Dennis and I really get into how eating a clean diet transforms and affects consciousness. And we have a really great conversation. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed catching up with my friend, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. Let's jump right in.
You know what this is?
Yeah, that's fucking correct.
This is
what
Easter,
that is.
1986.
Right?
The bunny. That's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Russell Stover's bunny. They got the exact taste of it.
It's correct. Yeah, that's
Wow.
wonderful.
Sorry for anyone who has like chewing issues.
Yeah,
and they're
it's
hearing
disgusting.
me like chew. Maybe you could just bleep it out.
But isn't that lovely? As a chef, when I first tasted that, Holly said, take a piece of this. I said, all right, let me see. I've had all sorts of raw chocolate. I love the earthiness of it. I love the health foodiness of it.
No, but
I've
this
never had,
melts.
yeah, but this is,
It melts.
yeah. Yeah, that's proper. That's proper. And all of the flavors I've had. Now, by the way, if anyone's going to buy this chocolate, there is one on their website that's not vegan. It has whey protein in there. I don't know what the fuck that's about, but they do make one like that. So don't just buy anything. Make sure it says, vegan on them. But they have like 40 flavors. 39 of them are all vegan. But yeah, it was really good.
This is 100% like your hype about it. 100%
Right?
valid.
Yeah.
There are notes to it.
Yeah.
You notice that?
Yeah. There's vanilla notes
There's
to
a
this
top.
one. Yep.
There's a middle, and then there's an after right after you finish it. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm opening up this white one. I'm opening up the white passion. So this is like a lemon, a vanilla, not a vanilla, like a white chocolate lemon cream. This one here.
Okay.
So, all you, man. I'm going to have one little piece.
Oh my God. This is it. Which one is this? White Passion?
Amazing stuff. What were we talking about before we got into decadence and all this
We're
stuff?
going to go into Costco now because I wanted to talk about this.
Okay. Costco, you say?
This was something very important that I've been hearing a lot about, and I know that there is a certain amount of I've got to shop local, and I believe in all that. I really do. I believe in all that, but not a lot of people have access to that stuff. I don't have a lot of time to go to farmers markets. There's not ones that are really near me, and there's not really a lot of places like Whole Foods is inconveniently far away from me. So I go to Costco. It's right down the block, and I was like, let me try this, right? They have a lot of affordable options for people that you can stock up on, and I don't buy groceries for like 2 or 3 weeks because I have enough of it to last me. And I'm talking like mostly frozen stuff that I make smoothies out of, salads.
Yes. I know this. I'm with, but I have just become a member recently, Holly and I, in Oregon, not here,
Yeah.
because I don't live anywhere near a Costco here.
And the produce is good.
Well, here's the thing. It's the same California mass-produced organic produce that Whole Foods gets.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. It's bomb. I went to that frozen food section. I saw the blueberries, the cherries, the mangoes, and
Those cherries?
raspberries. And they're always good,
Dude,
my
they're
man.
So good.
Yeah, so...
And the avocado, I'm telling you, man, that frozen avocado. I mean, I like a fresh avocado. Hands down when you're putting it, but for smoothies, it's great.
I'm skeptical. I'm going to try it, though.
Try it. They're
Yeah.
beautiful. I mean, they're like really good. For when you throw it in the smoothie, it's great. And I've been feeling a lot of I think it's sad that people think that they can't afford to live like this and that their only option is garbage, And it's not. Like it's there are so many options and that's one thing that I've been hearing in the last 2 years. Isn't that expensive? I'm like, no. Oh, isn't that hard? Dude, I've been traveling now vegan. I mean, granted, I went to California. It's very easy to be vegan in California. It was also very easy to be vegan in Arizona, believe it or not. There was vegan places everywhere. I couldn't believe it.
I mean, I've eaten vegan every place I've traveled in the world. Tropical islands, India, Europe, Central America, all over the country. Up in Maine now, where my parents are, where they moved to in Bar Harbor. Like you go in there and they have green coconuts. They have jackfruit up there, and I'm just like, it's reflecting what the market wants now. It's really good.
I love that Costco is offering in massive abundance these really good. The produce is, I mean, like you said, it's not farmer's market level. It's not, it's not that level. However, when I'm eating 5 salads a week and I can't make it, because I'm busy, or I'm working a lot and I'm sitting at home and I'm editing, I'm happy that I have 5 pounds of fucking spinach in my fridge so I can make a salad very quickly. You know what I mean? And it tastes good to me. And I've had the really good stuff, but for people who don't have access to those things, I think it's such a great I really think it's such a great option.
Costco, yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing too, people, we tend to go all in on things. So I've told people, I'd say like, oh, it's too expensive to be vegan. I'm like, go to that bodega or go to that. Sometimes they have like these big like vegetable warehouse type places. There's a bunch of them in Brooklyn. I'm like, go to that place. Buy enough food for $20 for 2 weeks. Buy cabbages, buy lettuce. And they're like, but organics, it has to, like non-organic food's not good for you. And I'm like, non-organic, burgers are not good for you. Don't worry about the non-organic cabbage. If you always go on the side of vegetables. Like, yes, of course, poison on the food fucking sucks and we don't want that. But like, always go deep into plants before anything else. And pesticide residues, they accumulate. Mm-hmm. And they accumulate in fatty tissue, so they move up the food chain and start accumulating. That's why you have fish loaded with mercury. A lot they call them persistent organic pollutants, POPs they call them, and that's why you have it in the fat of animals because they're eating all that sprayed soy, all that sprayed wheat and corn, and all the stuff that they're feeding to the animals, and it's concentrating in them. So even if you're not eating the perfect food and you're eating lower down on the food chain, it's much it's going to accumulate in you, but at a much lower level.
Much lower level.
Yeah.
And another quick thing, I love cashew milk. I love it more than almond milk. I love making cashew milk because it's thicker and it's a little sweeter.
Well, you know why? Because cashew milk doesn't strain. So cashews are one of the nuts. I think cashews and pine nuts, they may be the only two that don't strain. So you can pour that thing through a fine mesh nut milk bag, and there's nothing. It just goes right. You might as well pour water through it. Yeah. Because they completely liquefy.
It's great, dude.
Yeah, it's delicious.
It's delicious. Yeah. So that's my milk of choice, and they have at Costco, it's like $15 or maybe $20 for a huge thing. It's a huge like jar, like it's about this big, of just cashews, and I'm like, that's really cheap for that amount of cashews. Like sometimes I'll do an almond cashew milk, which is really nice, but that's a really great value for someone who wants to make their own milk, and it's cheaper than buying the crap milk, and it's like you're just making it. I love making my own milk. I feel better about my life making my own milk. That nut milk bag that you gave me is getting a lot of use, man.
Yeah, man.
One thing I knew to do, I soaked those fucking nuts overnight.
There's a woman that has a book. It's so funny. I thought it was a joke. I don't think that she knew it was a joke. It's just funny. I saw it in the front window of High Vibe, and it's her face on it, and she's smiling, and right next to her face it says "Soak Your Nuts," and that's the name of the book. And I was like, I was like, either that's intentional and meant to be a funny dad joke, or like, didn't anybody like cross-check you on that one? Like, I'm going to name my book. I think there's a Soak Your Nuts too.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
There's also, I think, isn't there a book called This Cheese is Nuts? It's about...
well, see, that's probably intentional.
That's intentional.
Yeah,
that's totally intentional, which is... I also started making cashew cheese too.
What do you mean, like fermenting it with probiotics?
No.
Okay.
Dude, I have to get on the fermenting game. And I need you for that.
Let's get you on that.
I need to start fermenting my own stuff.
Well, I'll tell you something. I wrote a book on it. I send this book to everyone. Everyone's like, I need you to help me ferment. I'm like,
I wrote a book.
I wrote an entire book on it.
You don't need to text me at 3 a.m. saying, hey, I really want to get into fermentation, which is something I do to you.
I'm going to bring this back to self-care and consistency. So like, I'm really winning in the self-care game. My stress level's still high. I slept like 4 hours last night. I've been sleeping more, but I didn't have a good night's sleep. But like, I'm like straight, I'm pain-free, I'm clear because of these things. One is juice. I juice every day. Every day. There's maybe like when I'm in Oregon, sometimes if I don't feel like going out, if I'm still having smoothies and salads, I'll skip a day here or there. But like 346 days a year or something, Dude. I am juicing, right?
With a juicer, or you'll sometimes go and get juice pre-made.
always going to get pre-made juice. I am so into making my own juice, but because of the work schedule I have here, like there's just no way. Like there's no way I'm going to make juice. I make juice maybe once or twice a year now. I'm on my return trip to Oregon this time. I'm actually going I'm probably going to do a juice fast while I'm out there. So I'm going to invest in a juicer.
Are you prepping your body for that or?
No, I'm constantly prepped for a juice fast. Yeah, for me, I just stop eating. Because the way that I eat, I never eat something that I wouldn't want to go into a fast on anyway. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing, people get this weird mentality, not to go off in another direction, but they get this weird mentality. I see it with a lot of our clients when it's time to go on a juice fast. They go, oh yeah, I just ate all this whatever last night. And it's usually all this sticky, nasty shit because I know I'm not going to be eating for the next few days. And I'm like, so you ate a bag of cement the day before you're going to stop eating and stop stimulating your peristalsis. That's what you did, right? And then they come in and then we try to get it out with a colonic. And I'm like, stop it. I'm like, do the Vitality Broom Cleanse for 3 days before going in. I'm permanently on the Vitality Broom Cleanse.
Right. So it's like you're like you said, you're permanently prepped
for a juice fast.
For a juice fast, which is great. Your body is always ready.
But it's juice fast. It's not juice fast. It's juicing daily, right? Fermented vegetables all the time. Not every day, a few times a week at least, sometimes every day, some form of fermented vegetable. 1 16-ounce jar of sauerkraut, people have heard me say this a million times in this podcast, 1 16-ounce jar of sauerkraut is equal to 8 bottles of probiotic supplements.
Dude, I need to get on that.
Those probiotics we sell here, they're $45 each. I mean, like, do the fucking math on that.
Yeah.
It's like people want these biohacks or I hate that term, but like people want these biohacks.
Hacks is a big word with the millennials, man.
Yeah, man. They want a biohack. That's
They
it.
like to hack things.
Yeah, that's a financial hack for health, and it's such a biohack. Fermented vegetables. It's wild strains of bacteria that lives in the soils where our vegetables are grown. For most people, at least in New York anyway, it's going to be coming from California or the Hudson Valley, depending on what season it is. But like that's the kind of stuff you want. Lab grown stuff is great. Like we sell probiotics, clients like it, and they work therapeutically. But when you could just get that stuff in every day, the consistency of that, what that does to the microbiome, it changes your food cravings. It's magic.
Now, as you know, you've just said something that now I'm going to start doing as soon as so tomorrow, this is all I'm going to be doing.
Fermenting stuff.
Right.
Yeah, do it. Get into it. Nerd out hard on that. Priorities, man.
I wanted, because you mentioned sauerkraut.
Yeah.
I don't think you remember our sauerkraut story.
I do remember that.
And I was like, what a great podcast moment. Let's just preface this with, I was like, Mike, can you recommend any probiotics? You said yes. Fermented vegetables. That's it. And I was like, oh, we don't have. You were like, go find some sauerkraut, and me thinking, oh, any sauerkraut. What do I text you a picture of?
It was some canned.
No, it's Sabret.
Oh, was it Sabret?
In a bag.
Yeah. Oh, it was in a bag, right?
It was Sabret.
Yeah, it had like citric acid in it.
Which kills, there was something in it that kills all the probiotics. And what was your text back? Throw it away.
My bad. Yeah, so, yeah, like.
That's how stupid I was. I was like, I'm just going to go get a bag of Sabret, and then I'm going to get all the probiotics.
Well, here's the thing. If it's sitting on the shelf in a jar, can, or bag, and it's not refrigerated.
It was refrigerated.
Oh, was it refrigerated?
To my credit. But it did have some kind of preservative that kills the probiotics in it.
Yeah, that was a pasteurized bag. I remember. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was some. It was Sabret. It's not the kind of.
Yeah. So what you got? You had pre-digested cabbage.
Right.
It's not the worst thing in the world. It's just very easy to digest cabbage, but the microbial action in there was just stunted. It was just wrecked. Just making sure our cameras are still on. We're using GoPros for this. I think
GoPro sponsor the Vitality podcast.
I think because we lit this one well. Last podcast I did, I had Dr. Bish here. I had to set it up in like 10 minutes, and he couldn't be here all night.
Right.
And like it was
and
just
you
like
didn't have your right hand man.
No, Nick was in Hawaii gallivanting through the coconut palms.
And you're like, hey, I'm really happy you're in Hawaii gallivanting, but I need you here to light this fucking podcast.
Yeah, no. So I couldn't find the light switch. The light was too dark. It was just but anyway. This one I think is coming out good.
You set it up like a pro today, man.
So, because I have a filmmaker with me helping set it up. You set this up. So what were we talking about? We're talking about juicing. We're talking about fermented vegetables. Yes. But here's 3 other things, and I got a bunch of things I do consistently, but actually here's 4 other things that I've committed to. And the consistency of it has been so rewarding to me. And I Insta story about these. I don't Insta story about this one. It's cold showers every day. Hot shower to bathe, get the soap off, and I, loosen up my muscles. But every day, and I was going to do like a 30-day challenge. It's like a Wim Hof challenge. I was like, oh, let me do this with these guys on Instagram, do 30 days. And I think it's been like 90 days now.
How long is the shower?
The cold part is like 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah.
It's funny because I got into the cryo today.
Right.
By the way, thank you for that. So I did a 2.5 minute session?
Three
minute session. Cold showers, I am like, it's devastating for some reason.
Well, here's why. Water can conduct its temperature into the body 20 times more effectively than air. So that gets down to about negative 249, negative 250, the way we have it set. The cryo chamber. I'm pointing to the cryo chamber if someone's listening and not watching. So that gets down to about, in that negative 200 zone. And because it's not wet, it's just communicating to the surface of the skin. Oh. Where the cold water, I've done cold showers in the winter in New York. Where I don't know what the temp of the water coming in is, but it's rough. Like my face hurts when it hits my face. It tightens up so much because it's conducting that temperature right into the tissue, right into the bone, which can be very therapeutic, but it's much more intense. It's so much more intense, yeah.
I've done this thing where I've let the cold water hit me right after a hot shower, and it's like 2 seconds, and I'm like, nope, and I just shut it down. I'm trying,
What you got to do is you got to focus on your breathing. Right. No panic breathing when you're in there.
Oh,
just controlled breath.
The first thing that I do? As soon as I turn the cold water on, I immediately like freeze up.
Yeah, that's panic breathing. So you want to start working through that. So cold showers every morning, they light my day up. They have a similar reaction. Cryotherapy can boost norepinephrine production up by like 400% because of the intensity of the cold. I don't know what the shower is, but I'll tell you, norepinephrine is responsible for controlling the immune system's response to inflammation, and it draws it back. It's also acts as a hormone a neurotransmitter in the brain, and it creates feelings of wellness and happiness. Like every time I used to do cryo, I was so much happier and much more focused. It improves focus.
Yeah. Even after that one little set, I'm like, this feels great.
Right? You feel like super happy, supercharged.
Yeah.
So I start with the cold showers every morning. I've been doing cryotherapy or infrared saunas, either one or both every day. Saunas I do less because it's more of a commitment, and it's like an hour I'm in there. It could be like an hour and 10 minutes by the time I'm all done. I don't always have that time. At least twice a week though. 40% decrease in all-cause mortality from using a sauna 4 to 7 times a week. I think it's 27% if you use it like 2 to 3 times a week. That's almost half, cutting in half mortality from all diseases known to humanity. That's fucking insane. And that's just from sitting in the sauna. It increases blood flow. It releases heat shock proteins, but one
heavy
of the
metals too, right?
That's the big one, man. And I like to.
I learned that from you.
I like to relate truth to people, here in the studio. And like sometimes when you order a sauna, the new sauna comes with a booklet and like it'll say it does all these things. And like I never told anybody that cryotherapy would create weight loss until I really understood it. Everyone would come in, they go, "Am I going to lose weight from this?" And I'd go, "I don't think so." And they'd be like, "Really?" Because that's what it says on the thing when I look, and I looked on YouTube, and I'm like, yeah, I know. I said, I see that all over the place. I think it's a marketing term. Now it's on our website because now I understand it. So I always really want to understand it. And all the sauna companies would always say, oh, yeah, well, it helps release heavy metal from the body. And we had clients, Dr. Bishy being one of them, not as a client, but in his own sauna, where you have your metals tested. Then you do 10 sauna sessions over like a 10-day or 20-day period. You do one every day or every other day. And then you have them tested again, and they would drop. So like I knew that it was working, but I wanted to see what was really happening. So I looked up the studies, and they've done studies on sweating where they take patches and they'll put the patch on people's bodies, and they collect the sweat, and they measure the volume of metal that comes out. And it almost always correlates with the industry that they worked in. Like it could be metal smelting, jewelry making, and they'll have these different metals like nickel or lead or all these different things.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's powerful for releasing the metal. When we release the metal out of our tissue, we start to, the body will start to self-correct all the different pH imbalances in the cells, and it's amazing.
What do you recommend for people who don't necessarily have access to these things easy access. I mean, obviously there are people that can come here and do it,
Right, yeah.
and then there are places, but I know that there are a number of bathhouses that are pretty affordable. So if there are people that can't necessarily not afford it or like get to it, or the I'm too busy thing. So 3 levels of question: can't afford it, too busy, it's not near me.
How much you need to prioritize something like that, to me, depends on like what your level of need is in that moment. Like, are you sick? Then find a way to get it. Like, are you
Right.
trying to detoxify because you're having issues with like some type of poisoning, mercury poisoning, or you have some disease that you know is a result of industrial pollution and bad diet choices? Like, get it, prioritize it. Most people can afford these things, and they can afford the food that they say they can't afford.
Exactly.
I have a lot of
Yes.
clients that come on, they're like, oh, I can't afford that thing. Oh, that's too expensive. I'm not going to buy that thing. And not because I'm pitching it to them. We're just talking about food and healthy stuff. They start complaining about stuff. And then they start talking to me about the bullshit trip they took to Vegas with the friends. You know, I'm not talking about the family vacay where you're trying to give your kids a good experience. I'm not talking about you had to go to your brother's wedding. I'm talking about the amount of nonsense. It's all about prioritizing. Mm-hmm. What do you prioritize? I prioritize getting in the sauna, getting in the cryo sauna, and taking cold showers every day because it's fucking important to me. Because my standards are high as fuck for myself. That's why.
And that was my evil plan with that question, because that's exactly what I wanted you to say, is that if you look at your life and what you're putting money into, I guarantee you can take that money and put it towards this and make your life infinitely better. So this is kind of going on a slight tangent, but I'm going to bring it back. I recently, because I'm all about self-care and wellness, as you know, like it started with veganism and now I'm going into, dude, I must have a minimum of like 7 plants in my house. You know what I mean? Like I have to have plants. One, I love taking care of something, and I cannot bring another pet into my life right now financially, but I can bring plants into my life, and we benefit each other. I take care of them. They clean my air. My whole environment became very important to me. And my TV, whether I use it or not, has always been in my bedroom. Big mistake. It not only lets off emissions, you know, like electrical, there's like the
EMFs,
that fucks with your sleep patterns. I was like, man, I got to get this thing out of my room. So I bought a wall unit for it, so I can hang it, so I can mount it on my wall. I found one really cheap on eBay. It was like someone was just getting rid of it. And I had it unplugged and away for like a week. It took a week to get this.
Like what? Awaiting the wall mount?
Awaiting the wall mount. What happened in that week was amazing. I don't have a desire to watch TV anymore. It's nuts. I took it out of my life. And it was like I listened. I did nothing but when I wanted to do something, I read or I meditated or I listened to podcasts, because I started getting to meditation too. All of a sudden, all this time, and then it's not like I was spending hours and hours in front of the TV, but at night I would like go and turn on the TV, and like that's how I would relax. Now I have a meditation app that I use, and I meditate for 20 minutes. I do like 5-minute increments every night, and then I listen to theta waves, and then I pass out. It's great. With the TV in my room, it was always a thing that I wanted to go and do. So by taking that out, I don't even want to watch TV. Like, honestly, like I'm like, I might get rid of my Netflix account in like a month if I'm not using it. I might like just, I don't know yet. But I'm like, I just didn't, and I turned it on today. I was like, oh, this is a cool documentary. But I was like, I'd rather be doing something else, you know, because I finally got it set up and it's really cool. But yeah, I'm just like, it's amazing that when you take something away from your life that you think is giving you value, and then suddenly you realize how little it was giving you. Yeah. I took Facebook out of my life too. I don't use it anymore.
I noticed that you're not on Facebook too much. Yeah.
Don't use it anymore. Hasn't changed anything for me. In fact, I'm getting more business I thought Facebook was bringing in business. I just stopped. I still have my account, but I stopped really posting unless it was something like a trailer that I'm doing or I'm working on, or a life-changing event, or something that, or something that will give something to someone, you know, like maybe it's a beautiful picture or a meaningful thing. I deleted it off my phone, and I just use Instagram now for my thing, but it's less of this. What I'm doing is I'm pretending to look at my phone, and whoever's just listening, it's less of that, and it's created less noise up here in my brain, and it feels really good. And I stopped I give myself at least an hour to 2 hours before I even look at my phone in the morning. So I get up at 6 or 7, I chant, I meditate, I have my morning coffee, and then I start checking. Because that's around 9 o'clock. So I have these 2 to 3 hours all to myself. Go into my day.
That's good hygiene. That's good phone hygiene. I don't have good phone hygiene.
Dude, I break a lot. But I started noticing what that did is I became very cognizant of how much I've been on my phone. And I'm like, my God, there's a twitch. I gotta check my phone. And I would be with a person, and I'm like, fuck this shit. And I started putting it away when I'm out with a person. I put it in my bag, and I put my bag to the side. It's not even in my pocket, because I'm like, whatever it is, it's not gonna burn the world down. If I get back to them in an hour, it's fine. I'm gonna spend this quality time with this person. And
yeah, that's one thing I do. I'd never go out to dinner and be checking a phone or like it's just disgusting.
And
disgusting. That's like wearing sunglasses,
right?
And not that's like, I have an issue when people don't take their sunglasses off when they say hello to me. I mean, like
Unless it was Ray Charles or
well, sure, but when somebody comes up and they have sunglasses on, and if it's inside, it's fucking worse. But even if it's outside on a sunny day and they come up and I'm like, hey man, how you doing? And they sit there and talk to me with sunglasses on, that just irks the shit out of me.
I don't think people don't realize how important it is to look someone in the eye when you're talking to them. It's very, very important. I did this thing. I also started being conscious of when I break eye contact with a person and why. I was like, why are you breaking eye contact with them right now? And I started to notice that the more I look at a person and really like listen to them, the more they look away because it makes them nervous.
Oh, it makes them so uncomfortable.
It makes them so uncomfortable.
Well, you weren't here for that event. No, you weren't here for that event that I did. Remember the event that you filmed?
Yes.
The next level of that event that I did, we had a bunch of people here to get people clear on what they're doing there, because everybody comes to these like free talks and stuff and they think they're going to write down like how much vitamin C is in a mango and all this fucking nonsense, Hey man, I wrote that shit down too. I mean, obviously this is what I do.
To write down all the fermenting stuff that I'm supposed to be eating, and then you're gonna get text from me at 3 a.m. Dude, I've been fermenting for 3 days, and I'm like blowing my whole out. Sorry,
but my thing is like, what I try to do is get people out of their heads, out of the intellectualization of the food stuff, out of the diet philosophies, and just get them doing stuff. Like really all they got to be doing is eating it or whatever. And so I do some Dyad exercises with people, and this is New York. And like eye contact in New York, it either meant that you were up to something weird and you were a weirdo, or it meant that you wanted to start some trouble with somebody. Like I was trained, like don't make eye contact with people on the subway.
Oh yeah.
Like as a kid.
In the 80s?
Oh yeah, in the 80s. Forget about it.
Even the 90s, like mid 90s, if you made eye contact with someone, you were going to get stabbed.
Yeah. I was
when
stabbed.
You were stabbed.
And I was stabbed for making it. Yeah, I got stabbed with a kitchen knife when I was 14 by, for making eye contact.
A dull kitchen knife?
I don't know if it was dull. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So it broke skin.
Oh, yeah. No, it went into me. I had to get stitches and everything.
Oh my God.
But anyway, yeah, that was 1989, New York City.
Were you fat at that point?
No.
Okay.
I was 1989. I was 14.
Oh, okay.
And
so you that was the age where you could like eat anything and everything was.
Yeah, and I wasn't drinking as heavily yet.
Right.
I wasn't. I was smoking cigarettes. We were running around. It was Halloween. Talk about like different paradigm, right? We're gonna just take this all over. There's no map.
Now we're in 80s New York.
There's no map to this. Yeah, now we're in 80s New York.
No, this is a stream of consciousness. I mean, when you and I get together. There's no.
That's how it goes.
I honestly don't think that Joe Rogan writes plans down for his podcast either.
No,
he
just
has conversations.
Yeah, he's really good at it, though. I wonder. I have to listen to some of his podcasts. Yeah, all over the place he is. But 1989, take the day off from school. Like you play hooky from school. Walking around, throwing eggs at buses, shaving cream. Do you remember when eggs and shaving cream were cool because it was Halloween?
Yes.
Like we would walk down the street covered in the shit, throwing eggs at the sides of buses and all over the people's bushes, like and other kids. You'd run up to them and
toilet paper, shaving cream, and eggs.
You get the spray paint top and you put on the Barbasol shaving cream and it like shoots out, and we just cover the whole neighborhood. But there was no issues. Could you imagine if a bunch of kids came like walking down any street anywhere in New York right now doing that? Like they'd be arrested.
Or I hate to say it, shot.
Hopefully not shot,
Hopefully
but
not
maybe
shot.
they wouldn't be arrested, but they'd probably have it shut down.
Right.
And thinking about how old we were, I had like little facial hairs and stuff, and I was like 14, 15.
The 3 to 4 like
Yeah.
14-year-old facial hairs.
But it's not like I was 10, you know what I mean? It's like I was a teenager and we're
right.
firing eggs at the front of a bus, giving the finger to the bus driver.
Fuck you, MTA.
Yeah, and that was just Halloween, you know?
Right.
I remember in the 80s in New York, and this is probably, I'm guessing it's other places around the country, but I grew up in a bubble. I thought Guidos were everywhere. Like, I didn't
too.
know.
Yeah.
Remember 4th of July? Do you remember the firework pits that used to happen? At the Arthur Valerio's uncles, at the end of the night, I think 10 o'clock, the police started driving around and they'd like go whoop, whoop, you know, and they'd just be like, all right, guys, everybody just put your beers away or whatever. So, and this was not just kids. This was kids. Everybody was doing their thing. They'd take this big metal bin and it would just be on fire. And they would take all the fireworks and throw them in. Just throw it in. The thing would exploding all over the place.
And the can would eventually blow up.
Yeah.
It was insane.
It was
My
insane.
block, what we would do is we would pile everything that was, we would sweep everything into the middle of the street. My dad would do this. My dad would help. We'd sweep all the neighbors. I mean, I grew up on a denim block, but we would sweep everything into the middle of the street and start throwing shit in it. And it was dangerous. Dude, it was like not contained. Shit was flying everywhere. It was flying into houses, flying at us, like fucking bottle rockets shooting at us. We were like, this is fun. I'm surprised I'm not dead, dude.
Before we get out of the 80s or the 90s, this was the 90s.
We're talking about eye contact.
Do you,
Why you
thank
got
you.
stabbed.
Oh,
I'm
Dyad,
just bringing you
Dyad.
back.
We're going to come back to Dyad meditation.
Right. And now we're suddenly in 1980s Staten Island.
Do you remember when we were teenagers?
Yes.
And we'd be drinking and doing whatever at golf courses. Like we'd sneak into the golf course at night, light a fire and do stuff, or parks or like public parks in Staten Island, and the police would show up. Everybody would have 40 ounces of Old English or whatever they were drinking. We'd have knives in our bags. So we had those knives with spikes on. They used to sell them at like the heavy metal store. Like, you know, so like Arthur and I would have them.
Weapons. They would sell weapons.
Blades this fucking big, like 7-8 inches big with knuckle spikes on them. And to us, we weren't going around stabbing and hurting people, but they were just like these badass things that boys wanted to have.
Right.
And it was illegal, but it was okay to have them. The police would show up, start going through our bags illegally just because we were in a park or in a golf course. They would dump all of our beer out. No summonses given. Yeah. Just dump the beer out.
Just fuck you and dump the beer.
Yeah, and then they'd be like, "Oh, what's all this shit here?" And then they'd go through and they'd be like, "Hey, look at this knife," and then they these are ours now, and they just leave. Like nobody got arrested.
They would give it to the kids.
They'd give it to they'd just be like, these are our because you think about it, these cops probably were kids. They're probably like 22 years old.
22 years old.
I thought they were in their 40s, but
Yeah.
Anyway, right. So we're doing Dyad meditation.
That was an epic tangent.
Thank you. We're doing Dyad meditations, and the way Dyad meditation works is the way it works. It's not a single meditation. It's a contemplation, but you sit across from a partner, and one person shares and another person receives. And the first thing you do is you make complete eye contact and give each other your full attention. The moment everybody half the room loved this. The other half of the room, being New Yorkers, were just like, "What the fuck is this guy having us do?" Yeah. It brings up so much stuff, and people get really like uptight about it. Sometimes when I do Dyad meditations with people, immediately, just from the eye contact, people start weeping, just from the intimacy of connection. Like they just start. But we go into this whole evolved process where one person receives and one person shares, and the receiving partner gives the sharing partner a instruction. We play with them. Like when I do them here at the things, like sometimes I'll be like, the instruction will be, tell me about you and your relationship to food. When we do the evolved like ones where we're going after enlightenment experiences and we do like the actual meditation, we do these 5 days retreats that I haven't done for a couple of years now, but we lead these 5-day retreats. It's the instructions are, tell me who you are, tell me what life is, tell me what another is. They're like these more evolved like questions that help to invoke a contemplation about the truth of reality or the truth of who we are, right? But when we do them in these groups, we do like lighter questions, and I usually bring them around food. And anyway, they're a lot of fun. But what's really interesting is when you do those processes, the melting that happens of people, like all of this, like, and when you start receiving somebody, the receiving partner, Their job is not to say anything, no coaching, no nodding. You don't do anything. You just fully receive whatever comes up as a result of that instruction. So it could be like, tell me about you and your relationship to food. People start doing, and they start doing this thing, and you start to really understand this person, and you're not having a conversation. You're just receiving completely with full eye contact. It's a beautiful thing.
It's wonderful. And I've really, really have made a conscious effort of like staying with people, and even I count how many times I nod. This is still on.
I'm just peeking at the cameras. Yeah.
I count how many times I'm nodding in acknowledgement and realizing I don't have to do that all the time. I do it as a host on the podcast because I want to let people know I'm listening.
To cue them, of your attention.
Also to cue them. But also it's also I realize that it's a way of me like acknowledging them that I'm listening when I'm focusing more on nodding. You know what I mean? So it's like I should be focusing more on listening. All of this, what we're talking about, all of these practices that I put into place have stemmed from food. It stemmed from that moment that I went vegan. It stemmed from that moment of wellness, of saying, I want to treat myself better. I want to be a better person. How do I do that? I start with food. Start with what you're putting in your body, and everything else around you changes.
You know why? That's our real dance with life.
Yeah.
I used to go to a lot of personal development seminars, and we do similar exercises to a Dyad thing, and like we'd have these different processes we would do, and people would say things like they would make statements about what they wanted to be and what they wanted to create in the world. And it was always all of this lofty, beautiful, amazing shit. Like, I want to be love. I want to be the embodiment of love. I want to bring more joy into the world. I want to, they were trying to like, I don't know I'm pulling from a variety of different exercises we used to do. But, some of these processes, we're trying to get to the root of like what people really want to create in life and then how to get there, shit like that. Right. So, and then it would be like, after hours and hours of us doing process work and watching all this great stuff from the stage, and then they would go off to eat, and we'd be at some silly convention center, and they'd go across the street and eat at McDonald's. And I'm like, you are not only you're basically voting and creating with your money and your choices the exact opposite of what you wanted to create. What you just told me was at the root, like the root of your soul. Right. You're now polluting your body. You're putting money into a food system that tortures animals, poisons the food supply. So I realized, I was like, that's our real dance with life is food, because you can do all the affirmations, you can do Dyad meditations, I can do Wim Hof breathing, I can do all this stuff, and that all makes me very cool. But the reality that I create, and this is only part of it, it's not all of it, but it's a big part of it, is the type of food that we choose to eat because of all that it represents and ripple effects out through the world. So if we're trying to emanate a certain thing and our choices are, are unaware in how we're eating, like 50% or more of how we're really showing up in the world is that.
Oh my gosh. It is so, what you said is so true. I think what you just said really hit home for me. It's how you show up in the world, how you show up in life, how you show up to a fucking podcast, how you show up to be a friend, how you show up to be a son, to be a daughter, to be, you know what I mean? Like how you show up is important.
It's
how
big.
you bring yourself into a room is important.
One of my teachers, I did talking about personal development stuff. His name's Aaron Huey, not Aaron Huey, the photographer. That's somebody else who does some really cool photography work with Native Americans and stuff. But this guy, Aaron Huey, he leads a process called Predicament, which is one of the most badass fucking things. I became a facilitator of Predicament myself. Not like the head guy, but I was like a supporting staff for Predicament. Trained by Aaron, I became friends with him, and then we started doing some work together. I haven't done it for years, but somewhere in this process, when I was basically having my fucking ass handed to me and being broken down to nothing. There goes one of my cameras. That's all right. We'll switch a battery in a second. So I was talking about Aaron Huey, who led me through a process called Predicament that totally just changed my life forever. This is a fucking phenomenal process. It's part of something with a corny name. It's called Enlightened Warrior Training Camp. And I thought, I
just felt like Burning Man people for some reason.
No, it wasn't. But I'll tell you something. The processes and the things that we do at this camp were so wonderful. I brought my son in when he was my son maybe 18 or so. I think he was 18 when I brought him through. And I worked for the camp at the time so that I could be there like while he went through. Anyway, it was fucking phenomenal. But one of the things that Aaron stressed and he said to me, and I hear in my head all the time now, when at certain times, like he said something in the process, I don't remember what was going on, but he looked at me and he like has this piercing gaze and he said, "How did you just show up in this moment?" And I was like, oh, fuck. So now, I pick up those little rings that like get stuck around turtles and birds' necks, the plastic things, and I take them and I cut them and I throw them in the garbage. And I'm like, I could take 2 seconds to pick them up. Sometimes I'm in a rush. And sometimes I'm like, oh, look at that ring. Oh, it's going to go down the drain or it's on, and I go, and I keep walking. And then I hear, how did you just show up in that moment? And I'm like, fucking shit. And I like fucking walk back. Yeah.
If you had just picked it up at that moment, you wouldn't have got to go back.
But it was a very,
that's a
very powerful statement, and
yes.
it sat with me. That's what a real teacher does.
Yes, it's amazing how you and I are doing this. Like you're doing your, I've noticed how consistent you've been. I'm like, I'm doing the same shit. So it's like our lives are kind of intersecting in that way too. But again, it started with the big change of food. And I'm telling
right, that's
people,
where we were.
Yeah, when you change the way you eat, you change the way you live. I'm 2 years now into this, maybe even 2.5, maybe. Can you believe that? It went from feeling good physically to feeling good spiritually to realizing the things that I needed to take out of my life and things that I needed to bring into my life. And it's amazing. I'm killing off all my debt. I'm not buying clothes anymore. I mean, like I have plenty of clothes. Let me just say that. But all the clothes that I'm wearing now, I'm wearing them out until I can't wear them anymore, until they have holes in them, and then I'll donate them or recycle them or something. And then I'm going to buy ethically made clothes. So like Everlane, I guess it is. They're ethically made. Nothing will be from a source of fast fashion. Nothing will be from a source of and those things are made with care so they'll last longer. You know what I mean? So those are things that I'm like looking forward to doing. I'm not looking forward to spending more money and buying more clothes, but when I do, I'm going into it with a different mindset. Or I might buy used. Used clothes are great. I love used clothing. I buy it all the time, thrifting,
Well, it's interesting because you talk about how that originated from changing the way that you ate. I had a very similar experience where I wonder if it's because it is what makes our bodies. It is like all of these the chemistry of the food, reflection of a chemistry of the soil. It almost creates like a union with with the earth.
Yes.
And it I don't know how it directs the thought process of how we're going to show up in the world, but I noticed when I started doing that and I got into cleansing and started juicing and eating plants, and my consciousness changed. I wasn't planning on all that happening. I was trying to lose my big beer gut from drinking 40s and eating McDonald's.
And you change on a fucking spiritual level, and it's nuts.
I wonder this thing. So I taught my son how to fish when I was younger and he was younger. My son's 27 now. My son fell in love with fishing. And I used to think it was great because we would fish. I loved it. There was something about fishing I really loved. When I was growing up, my dad taught me, and mostly in lakes and stuff. My son has like brought it next level to where he's either in lakes or in fishing in the ocean, off the shore, in boats. He's like all in on fishing. I mean, and when I mean all in, I mean every day. Might get home late from work, doesn't matter, is up at 5 a.m. to go out and get fit and do fishing before he gets to work. Like, so he really loves fishing. And it was something we did together, and I was like, well, this is cool because it keeps him away from video games. He grew up in the 90s, the Nintendo and Sega and all that. We did plenty of that stuff, but I was like, this is great because this is an activity we can do. The sun is shining on us. We're like, doing something natural, like in nature, know. But for me, then started eating vegan, and I started recognizing the suffering of the fish and recognized that they were suffering and recognizing that it originated from me. And suddenly it became something I couldn't do anymore. And it was this really weird, challenging thing because then I just started watching him fish. And I didn't want to like put my process on him. Like I kind of said things to him and he understood where I was at. But also looking at the amount of lures and lines that break and the pollution of fishing. And I was like, this is not for me anymore. I allowed him to fish, of course, because I wasn't trying to like put my stuff on him.
Yeah.
But now he's 27. He's so deep into fishing. And he moved to Maine and he started eating plant-based now. And I mean like very plant-based,
right.
Like, juicing. He's fermenting vegetables. He's all in on it. And I wonder how long the fishing is going to still be there. I'm not attached to either way. Obviously, he's been 27 years. My son, I love him for everything he does.
Time will tell.
But yeah, it's interesting only because I see that was my process. Started eating plants, really cleansed my body out, very rapid increased spiritual awareness about what I was creating. And I was like, oh, I'm creating suffering here. I'm like, that fish was not fucking with me. Yeah. And all of a sudden now it's suffering. It's gasping for air. It's got a pierced, thing through its mouth and its gill. And I was like, oh, that's dirty. That's not what I'm creating.
I actually feel bad for fish when I see them getting like hunted basically for like sport. There's something, I couldn't imagine living my life happy and swimming and then suddenly having a fucking hook through they can't feel it. They don't have nerve endings. I don't care. They got a hook through their face. That sucks. You know what I mean? Like they're like obviously like not happy about being on that hook.
The amount of times though that it doesn't like hook through the mouth, that it's like you got the 3 barbed hook that goes down the throat, and then all of a sudden you're trying to get. It's just a fucking mess.
It's a mess.
It's a fucking mess for me. Yeah.
It's fish murder.
But anyway, that's my thing. And so the food part. It's interesting. Like it changes who you are.
Yes. And there was another thing that I added. So I worked 29 days in May. So it was a wonderful, and I don't say busy or out of control anymore. I was so happy in those 29 days. I was never stressed. I was never upset. And everything was always within my grasp. Like, did you just...
Sorry, I'm spilling water all over myself. So
you have a drinking problem. Yeah. That was so dad joke.
I know, dude. We're in our 40s now. What are you gonna do?
I know.
They come out all the time.
I know.
So you were hustling like mad.
Yeah,
in May.
It was. What I like to say is I was extremely productive.
But you were in flow state.
I was in flow state.
Yeah, you weren't in survival. It wasn't survival mode. It was in flow state. Yeah.
I was very happy that whole time, and
that's
everyone
good
was like,
shit, man.
I was like, dude, you're working every day, and you're like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm sleeping well. I was sleeping regularly. The hours I was able to be like, oh, nothing. Everything was back to back, but scheduled well. So I was like, oh, I scheduled well. That's good. That's a step forward, But in that time, I would be home sometimes editing, and so Greenwood Cemetery is right next door to me.
Yeah.
Now, if anyone doesn't know about Greenwood Cemetery and they live in New York City, it is basically a nature preserve. It's beautiful. There are birds that live there. There are swans. There are cranes. There are frogs.
All the frogs all over. Yeah.
It's
a big, vast cemetery that's sort of it's architect. It's like it's been architected.
It's been architected to be more like a park.
Yeah.
And so there is a cherry blossom tree on a lake there, and I would take a half hour of every day I was at home in those 29 days, and I would go and sit under that tree.
Oh, yeah, in the middle of all your work hustle, huh?
In the middle of all the work hustle, I found a spot in nature that I could sit and be with the trees and be with the lake. I would not bring my phone. I would have no distractions, and I would just sit and listen and just be with it and be under that tree. Let me tell you something, man. If my 25-year-old self heard my 41-year-old self, I would laugh at that and do another line of cocaine. But this
you were a messy rock star. People don't know that about you. And you were a real rock star.
I was like, my mom told this really funny story about how they came to one of our shows, The Realistics, and someone had brought her backstage. They were like, oh yeah, come here, come on, say hi to Dennis. And I was laying across the table, like with my arms spread out, and my head was off the table, like that way. Like back on the back of the table. I go, hey, Mom.
Can you?
And my mom was like, okay, he's obviously had some fun tonight.
She's so sweet. Well, it's a very nice way to say it.
They're the coolest parents.
Can you find the messiest rock star picture you have and give it to me so I can put it on the YouTube version of this podcast?
I'm sure I have one. I always turned it on for the camera though. Like I was always like, hey, like how I am now. Like I'm like, oh hey, I gotta find one that's really fucking messy. I'm sure there's one that exists.
Send that to me. Send that to me for this podcast. But what were we saying?
So without the introduction of a plant-based diet, that my 25-year-old self would have laughed at my 41-year-old self for saying that, and I did not realize how important nature is, being around it. And I love that I live in New York City, and right next door is a nature preserve. So it's like I'm serious. Like they have plaques up about the birds that are there, about how they very, very carefully have constructed like nature right in the middle of Brooklyn so people can go and sit. And it is the most wonderful, peaceful place. I mean, everyone's dead, so there's there's not a giant funeral there, people are sitting and reading, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
I mean,
they don't allow you to ride bikes through.
No bikes, but it's a great place to sit and be.
Yeah.
Don't take your phone. Don't take selfies. Just go and be and listen to the birds. I had a bird land right next to me, it was right on the branch next to me, and it was just looking around. And I was like, I am so close to it right now. Like I'm so close to this right now, and it felt great. That's because of where it started with the diet. It always starts with that one change.
You realize that people that don't live in cities are laughing at that right now.
Oh, yeah, because they're like, dude, that happens to me every morning.
They're like a bird sat next to them. We had a fucking spiritual experience. Fucking bird. No, but I get what you're saying,
You know
man.
what I'm saying, man?
Yeah,
Birds
totally.
are fucking rare, man.
I go to
here, and we have pigeons.
They are. I used to see it. Like I used to. One of my old business partners used to be a bird watcher, and I'd be and like out the back window of our old studio, I'd be like, look, it's a blue jay, and she's like, yeah, those are kind of common, Mike, you know. And I'm like, I thought it was the most fucking amazing thing I'd ever seen.
I know. I know.
But I go to Greenwood usually once a year. My family's buried there.
Oh,
in
really?
Greenwood Cemetery. Yeah, my
I
grandfather,
didn't know.
my uncle, and my grandmother will be buried there. She's still alive in her 90s now.
Wow.
Yeah, so I go to Greenwood. It's a wonderful place.
It's a wonderful place.
They have tours. There's like a lot of celebrity New York is buried there, and not necessarily like
No, but the Rockefellers are there.
Yeah, like
Basquiat's there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He has a very tiny little grave.
Yeah.
It was an artist's grave. It was like totally, but it is an amazing part of history, and you can walk through and see everything. But I find those two lakes. There are two lakes, and they have benches around them, protected by one has a fountain, and they're protected by trees. Some of the benches are protected by trees, so you're just literally sitting under a tree, and you can barely hear. On a good day, you can barely hear the traffic, and the air is cleaner. It's nothing but trees. I mean, there are cars that go by, but it's one every like 3 hours.
And it's Brooklyn. It's not a dense neighborhood in Brooklyn. So
Right,
you hear a
exactly.
car in the distance, but it's not like
Exactly.
it's not fucking Midtown.
No.
Yeah,
Dude, this sucks. Midtown sucks.
Midtown's rough.
I hate Midtown.
There's congestion.
Talk about eye contact. No one makes eye contact.
This is my little oasis here. 1,100 square feet. Like you wouldn't know. Like right now, that's like where we are. You wouldn't know that there are like 1 million people out.
It's World
in
War
a 5
out there.
Yeah, it's insane.
Of like pedestrians.
And then you come in here and you hear like we had 90s hip hop on today. We got the the hiss of the cryo machine. We got our private little colonic rooms.
No,
It's a good vibe, right?
And I'm amazed at what you've done with the place. It's really grown so much. I love that you've infused selling product because it's product you believe in.
Well,
and
we were
it's-
sending people all over, mostly to the East Village where those shops are that carry
Right.
them. I'm friends with all
Right.
those shop owners, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, listen, this thing is great, or this chocolate is great, or this, a coffee substitute, whatever it is. And I'd be like, but the only place you can get it is down, at High Vibe or Live Live in the East Village. And they're like, dude, I live on the Upper West Side. They're like, you should sell it. And I was like, we should.
Right.
We totally should.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. And I mean, it looks wonderful. I like how you rearranged everything. I love the new wicker baskets.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm trying to bring more earthy elements. We were a little too industrial at first. We got these giant nitrogen tanks and the cryo.
Sauna.
This sauna's booming, man.
When I'm healed from the hair.
Yeah, when that's all done, we'll do a sauna. We'll get you in the cryo. We'll do another cryo. It'll be good.
Yeah, man.
You
probably should we wrap it up?
We should
It's
wrap
10
it up.
o'clock,
It's 10
yeah.
o'clock at night. We should wrap it up, my
And
man.
you gotta go. You have to get a train.
Yeah, I gotta get the train. I gotta get back out to my place because I gotta be back here in the morning.
Well,
So-
if there's one parting thing that I could say to people is start today. Start if you're on the fence about anything. If you're on the fence about your diet, if you're like, yeah, I really want to start now. The changes that happen afterward are just mind blowing. And like I did not understand the journey that I was going to be on the moment I chose to eat differently.
yeah,
it-
it really took you to a different place, man.
I'm like
it
a
really
different
did.
person. I'm a
Yeah.
totally different person, and a lot of people even see it. I mean, I'm also heavily into Buddhism, but now meditation too, taking the TV out of the room, all of these things I didn't realize were I always felt that I was a good or becoming a good person, a better person every day. But I feel like now I'm really present to people and present to myself, and I understand my body a lot more.
Mm-hmm. It's always communicating to us all the time.
Remember, okay, so I just want to bring people to, you talk about poop on this podcast, right?
We talk about everything on this podcast.
I knew I was constipated. And I said, all right, I'm going to do a salt flush. I did a salt flush, which is not as powerful as a colonic, but it does help to move the units.
Salt flushes could be good, yeah.
And it put me right back on track. I don't know why I got constipated,
but
I knew I was.
Most people don't even realize they
don't even realize it.
I have a friend who was she was on this podcast, Natalia, and she was I could tell that she was impacted with waste, and she was a bodybuilder. She still does. She's really into fitness. She's great. She's very plant-based these days. But she was doing protein shakes and eating lots of chicken and doing like the bodybuilding diet. And I could see behind the abs that there was a fuckload of waste back there. So, and she talked about this on the podcast. That's why I'm talking about it. And I said, listen, because she kind of got my deal on what I did. And I said, do a transit time test. Transit time test is when you eat something that should move through at a perfect speed. Not too fast, not too slow. So it's a big raw salad, steamed vegetables, and avocado. So you have some concentrated food, you have some raw food, you have some cooked food, but it's not pasta, it's not it's not things that are going to go too slow, and it's not watermelon, it's not going to go too fast. You take that meal, that salad, and you throw 1 or 2 handfuls of white sesame seeds in it, more than you would like ever normally eat. So you're basically like polluting your salad with sesame seeds. It's a sesame seed salad at this point. You never chew every sesame seed. So you're going to see them come out the other end. And I say, don't have any sesame seeds leading up to it. Don't have any sesame seeds, for days after it. And just see when you see the sesame seeds in the toilet. And I was like, and that lets you know. Most people, we want a 12 to 24 hour window, 28 hours. If it's a few hours, give or take, it doesn't matter. But basically, we want the food to enter, deliver nutrition, absorb endogenous waste and metabolic waste, and then leave very quickly, feed the microbiome, and then leave. We don't want it hanging around. So she's like, Mike, I did the transit time test. Or as she would say it, she's like, dog, I did the transit time test. And I was like, okay, what happened? 4 days. I was like, how many meals a day do you eat? 3 meals a day plus snacks. We're talking about how many meals you got in your body in 4 days, right?
Holy
12
shit.
to 16 meals sitting in your body, decomposing. Most of it's protein. If it's animal protein, it's letting off all sorts of putrefactive gases, and that's where the problem comes in.
Right.
So she didn't know she was constipated. She was going to the bathroom every day. She just didn't know she was in that deficit. And she's healthy and moving her body and all that, but she didn't know she held on to that much. You read in the medical books, they'll be like, some people can go every day to once a week. Like they just make it seem like that's normal. It's fucking not normal. It's not a good thing.
It's not normal.
Yeah, it's not normal. It's normal for our civilization based in agrarian culture that just eats all the animal fat and refined carbohydrates we want. Right. It's not normal for. I don't think this hunter-gatherer is walking around with a gut full of food that's 4 days old.
No. And I'm also amazed that I also started to notice what our society is based on. I saw an ad for this antacid, right? Mm-hmm. And it was this young, cute couple, and they're like, "Oh, let's do something naughty," and you think it's gonna be sexual, and they order a pizza, and then and then it's 2 hours later, and they're like, and I'm like, "Look at this. We're saying order something that makes you sick, and then take this." And they were like, oh, it's I don't know, it's Tums with probiotics or something. Or Tums with melatonin to help you sleep. I'm like, don't put the garbage in your body in the first place. You're eating something. And I realize it's about heartburn, because heartburn is fucking food. It's the food you're eating that creates heartburn, right? That's what? It's weakening your I had heartburn when I was eating shit. I don't have heartburn anymore.
Yeah, it's your body. That was your body communicating.
My body was saying, "Please stop doing this to me." I don't have heartburn. I don't have a lot of inflammation. Whatever. I'm like, look at our food. The food. Okay, so we have this awful, shitty thing to combat this other awful, shitty thing that we're putting into our bodies, but yet we're not promoting people don't eat the shitty thing. Just get this fucking awful thing to combat it, and you'll be fine. You can keep eating garbage. It makes no sense to me.
Well, it's a good business model, because that's right. You're basically, the market rewards products that fix problems.
Right.
So they're fixing a problem.
Right.
Yeah. But if you if your market were like, I'm going to write this book and it's going to be all about like alkalinity and cleansing and the microbiome. It's like, yeah, like people are kind of buying that now, but you're not going to make the money a drug company will. So,
Exactly.
so you're going to see,
Yes.
you're going to see those products front and center.
Yeah.
You're going to see those silly commercials getting produced.
Right.
Yeah.
But isn't it amazing how like we're literally watching people on a commercial suffer from the food they're putting into their body? They're making these painful, awful, if you put it on mute, it looks like they're fucking dying. You know what I mean? And yet, oh, that's okay. It's just, because I really wanted to have that pizza. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with you? Like, that's not, like, you shouldn't feel that way after you eat.
Well, it all becomes crystal clear when your awareness expands when you start eating clean.
Right.
But the thing is, someone has to enter into that process.
Exactly.
My paradigm used to be totally skewed. I don't know what's happening to my voice, man. I've been talking since 9 o'clock this morning to clients.
You need water, man.
This is gone. But we're going to wrap it up. We're going to wrap it up in a second. But
that means
yeah,
it's
my
time
man.
to wrap it up. Dude, this was great.
This was fun. This
You
was
were like, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, come on.
But because because sometimes by the end of the day, and I can do this with you, but but here's the thing: you have a podcast, you know how to podcast.
Yes.
Most people don't know how to podcast, and all that means is they don't know how to have a conversation, and it's because they get uptight when the camera's on them. It's because they get uptight when the microphone sits in front of them. So they come in, they're all natural, it's cool, we're having this great thing. I'm like, oh, save that, I want to talk about that on the podcast. And then as soon as they sit there, they do the thing where they don't play catch, and I just throwing balls at them. And but they never give me a question back. No one ever says like, hey, Mike, where'd you get that t-shirt? Hey, it's not like a conversation or like, tell me about that time. It's just like they wait for their interview, and those could be cool because some people have a lot of great stuff to share, and that's how people do it. Most of the people I rap with on the podcast do it that way, and it works and it's fine. But it makes me worry sometimes because if I'm been in appointments all day and putting out fires because our booking system went down or whatever, sometimes I'm not in the head to be like to lead the conversation.
Right.
So it's great when I could do an exchange with you and nobody's leading. We're just running back and forth. So
yeah.
Thank you for doing it.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, it's great to see you. I'm on my way out for at least 8 weeks, if not more. I'm going back to Oregon.
But you know what? At least we got to spend this time together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At least we had this, hey, man, if this is all I get for 8 weeks, what a great and valuable way to spend it.
Yeah.
We caught up
stuff.
on air.
Yeah, you were busy in May. I was busy. I haven't had a day off since I got back from Oregon. Not one. That I tell you. Oh, except one day to pack because I'm sending some stuff to Oregon. But that was it. So
we'll talk more about that off record because there's some things that I'll help maybe suggest that will help.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Man.
Thank you for doing a podcast. Thank you guys for watching this. I know this was all over the place. I get a lot of messages about some of the shirts that I wear in the podcast when it's not one of my signature all black shirts. Toby Morse, lead singer of H2O, made these shirts, and I just thought the shirt was great. So you can get that. I would check his Instagram. I don't know what the website is. I think it's h2o.com.
That would make sense. Or just Google H2O band, and I'm sure something will
H2O
come
band.
up.
It'll come up. If you like these t-shirts,
An awesome
are great.
band.
Yeah.
One quick thing before we say goodbye.
Yeah.
You asked me to help you pick out the t-shirt, right?
Right.
Mike pulled out 2 black t-shirts with letters on them.
I like, you know how the black t-shirts develop?
I love that that's your uniform.
Two reasons. Grease. Yes. Maybe I've said this. Yeah, grease and food. Okay,
grease
so you know.
And food. Not
we had this on the last podcast.
Not greasy food.
No.
Grease and food. Grease the movie and food because you just spilled water all over your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Travolta had that black t-shirt at the end of Grease, and I was like, damn, I just thought he was so amazing and badass. I watched that on television. I had to wait for it to come on because nothing on demand then. Anyway, I watched that come on, and I thought that was the greatest thing in the world. John Travolta with
a fucking black
t-shirt. And then it's because I get food all over shit. If I wore a white t-shirt or a gray t-shirt, as soon as I pull out my juice with beet in it,
it's
done.
Green and red.
Done. Yeah, my shirt's just
I really
wrecked.
think you're a dirty hippie with your tie-dye shirt.
Yeah, so anyway, the black t-shirt stuck. John Travolta, green juice. It's all connected.
It's your uniform, man.
Anyway, thank you, brother.
Dude,
thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you for watching this podcast. Thank you for listening to this podcast. And we'll have some more on the way. Sorry I didn't get more out. I'm going to do some in Oregon. And love all you guys. Love you, brother. We're out of here, my man.